Good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there? Oh, Lord, I'm having some technical difficulties already. Let's see what we got going on here. Y'all bear with me. There we go. We're good to go now. How's everybody doing out there? Hopefully everybody had a good week. And we're going to get into this conversation right now. As I always, we got the show going on. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hopefully all the sounds are good. Oh, man, it keeps going out. What's going on here? Keep going blurry. Let's see what we got going on here. Something with the camera today. But we're going to be all right. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. So let's start off with the most important thing right now going on. Can I vote? www.nass.org. Can I vote? This is where you can go to the website. You can look up your information, find out if you're registered in the right way, find out if your information is correct. We're going to go through the screen today because we need to make sure that everybody is up on whether they're registered to vote, whether they're registered the right way. So you go to this website here, then you go in here, click on your information. Welcome to the vote. Welcome to Can I Vote? Then you go here, put in your state. Go here, put in your information. Make sure you are registered in the right way in your city, in your state to vote come November. Don't wait till November. We need to do this now. We need to stay on this now and get it taken care of. www.nass.org. Can I vote? It's that simple. www.nass.org. National Association of Secretaries of State. Can I vote? We've been talking about this for a while now, so make sure you're registered. Make sure you register the right way. Make sure all your information is correct. We don't want to wait until November 4th. We don't want to wait till November 4th to find out that you're not registered in the right way, and then you're jumping through hoops trying to figure out how and what you got to do to get registered on the day before, the election. All right, Brian Hoodie. Good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, we don't need to wait until the last minute. So we need to be on this right now, making sure everything's in line with what's going on. Now, I want to start off with this morning before I get in the news and all this. But I want to bring this up because I've seen it and she's had to address it. It doesn't make sense to me. She addressed it before the Olympics started. She's addressed it during the Olympics. Simone Biles is currently the most decorated Olympic athlete in gymnastics. And each time that the Olympics comes around, no matter how great her performances are, no matter how many gold medals she acquires, no matter how flawless she performs, we have people that are more concerned about how her hair looks during competition. Now, let's just think about this for a minute. And we talked about the Crown Act and all this stuff about how you should be able to wear your hair how you want. And the Crown Act is just celebrated 5-year anniversary and all these different things we talk about as a community. But it seems that our community just can't get past the fact that Simone Biles is out there performing in the Olympics, doing her gymnastics thing, most decorated, as I mentioned. And we got people more concerned about how her hair looks after performing, around the edges and all this with all the flipping and all the different things that she does. We got more people concerned about her edges and how her edges look and how her hair looks rather than celebrating her greatness. What are we doing? What it eats at me for the simple fact that, and I can't say it's just us. It could be the media that's blown it out of proportion or whatever, however it is. But I see different posts. I've seen different posts talking about her hair and this and that, and she needs to do something about her hair and all that. And she even came out before the Olympics, as I said, and said, "Hey, can y'all not worry about my hair this time around and just let me go do what I got to do, because I'm not worried about it, so why are you?" With the greatness that this young lady has achieved in her lifetime, we still got people that are concentrating on how her hair looks after she competes. Now, I understand y'all want her to look flawless while she's out there. There's certain people that look flawless, whatever. If she don't care, why do you? If she doesn't care, because let's just be honest, we're mad at and talking. There's people out here talking about Simone Biles and her hair during the Olympics in competition where you're sweating and all these different things. So she, I've seen her outside of the Olympics and her hair looks fine, but during the Olympics, she's not worried about her hair. She's worried about her performances. But we got people out here still showing up in airports and Walmart and all these other places wearing bonnets, and y'all ain't saying nothing about that. Just me. Maybe it's just me. But if we're more concerned about how Simone Biles' hair looks rather than the accomplishments she achieved during this Olympics and past Olympics and throughout her career as an Olympian, gymnastics, it bleeds into why we're at the point we're at right now when we're talking about Kamala Harris being the still presumptive nominee for the Democratic National Party. We find flaws within our own people to take away their standing and their greatness that they exude over how their hair looks, over how they talk, over who they're married to. Are they black enough? Come on, y'all. We got to get better with this. How can we advance as a people if we're going to continually beat down our own people? Rather than uplift, we will tear down. I'm not saying everybody, but we all see it. And there's this little thing that everybody says, if you will talk to me about someone, that means you'll talk to someone about me. Hey, Whedon, good morning, sis. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. But I just wanted to start off with that. But let's recognize the greatness of what people are achieving in this world, rather than getting down to the attacks on looks, personality, different things like that. These things play a factor in how they're received. But let's concentrate on the goodness and the greatness that they exude. And I guarantee if you change your mentality to look at the goodness and the greatness rather than the exterior flaws that you want to point out, because we all have them. We all have them. I can sit here right now and tell you there's about 10 of them that I can point out right now on my face, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to let you figure that out. However, I digress. If we will concentrate on the greatness that people are exuding, then we can get past the fact that her hair and her edges aren't pulled back to the point of what you expect, rather than the expectations of her becoming the most decorated Olympic athlete ever in gymnastics. Just wanted to put that out there this morning. Evan Lopez, good morning. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we got to get better, y'all. We have to get better. I mean, it just don't make no damn sense. But let's go and get into this. Let's go. In the news. Willis Cheney, good morning, my brother. Good morning. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. In the news. So, yesterday, 1 month after the Supreme Court issued its landmark ruling about presidential immunity, and we talked about it, the judge overseeing former president's federal election interference case now has jurisdiction over the case again, which means that the Supreme Court, who granted some type of immunity to former President Trump, official and non-official acts, is now going back to the judge in D.C., which her name is U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan. And now this case can proceed, but first she has to weed out what is considered official acts and what's not official, unofficial, and official, which shouldn't be done. However, it is what it is. And this was because of January 6th, trying to overthrow the government. That's what this trial is about. Election interference case. We'll see where it goes, but this is where it is. And if you remember, in a 6-3 ruling authored by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court found that the president has absolute immunity for acts within their core constitutional powers and a presumption of immunity for acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. So it's going to get down in the weeds of what we're going to be able to find out with this ruling, going back to Judge Chutkan, is exactly know what the charges that were filed against him in this case, because up to this point we really haven't heard exactly what the charges were, but now they'll be clear cut because now they have to be identified as being official acts or official duty acts or unofficial, and that's where it's going to get interesting. So pay attention to this. They're saying that they don't think this will go to trial before the election, but there will be a lot of talk between now and the election about what this case is all about. Listen in. And I'll keep you informed with anything that I find out, but listen in so you know exactly what it is. It goes along hand in hand with the case in Mar-a-Lago with the classified documents that Judge Eileen Cannon decided that she was going to throw the case out. Well, that's up for appeal now, so we're going to see where that comes out because that had some immunity aspects of it too. So we're going to sit back. We're going to watch what this does. I am a true believer that I don't care if you're running for president or running to be a shift leader at McDonald's. If you're up on charges, the case should not be continually kicked down the road to give you an opportunity to put yourself in a position where if you do get the position that you're going for, president or shift worker, that you become immune from prosecution because you're in that position for something you did a while ago. So that's what they're doing. They're kicking the can down the road. And some of these judges, as well as the Supreme Court, are allowing this to happen. Pay attention. Elections have consequences, as I mentioned, because whoever is elected in the presidency is authorized to appoint justices that are on the Supreme Court until they decide to walk out. It's a lifetime appointment, and this is where we're at right now, where you get these 6-3 rulings about and coming up with word salad to say, well, we need to find out if it was official acts or unofficial acts. That's where we're at right now. Milton Jackson, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. So everyone, unless you're living under a rock, everyone's seen the National Association of Black Journalists panel the other day with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump went there with preconditions. He said he was going to come. He said he was going to show up, talk to the National Association of Black Journalists during their conference and everything. And he went there, and you can tell from the beginning, with ill intent. And I'll say it this way, Billy Easter, Easy E, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. He went there with ill intent from the beginning, and it was advertised that he would come there to answer questions on this panel, and they would real-time fact check him during the conversation, during the panel discussion. But that didn't happen. And if you really watched it, it didn't start on time. It started like an hour late. So this is what it said. And this is the inside scoop, as they say. Trump stalled the black journalist interview over the fact-checking aspect. Moments before former President Trump took the stage at the National Association of Black Journalists annual convention in Chicago on Wednesday, the organization's president was called back to address an issue. Trump did not want to be fact-checked live and was refusing to go on stage. The National Association of Black Journalists president Ken Lemon told Axios. Trump's team said, well, you cannot fact-check. He's not going to take the stage if you fact-check. The Q&A with GOP presidential nominee was delayed more than an hour before he eventually joined the panel. At the time, President Trump blamed the delay on audio problems. And then they said there were audio problems, but they were resolved very quickly. The bigger problem was his threat not to take the stage when he had agreed to go on. He did not want to be fact-checked, but we could not let him on the stage without fact-checking. Let's stop right there for a minute. And let's give a good morning. Good morning, my brother, Terrence Collins. Appreciate you, bro. So let me just say this. First of all, there was a lot of discourse about whether he should have even been invited to the National Association of Black Journalists because of the way he has treated black journalists, to include April Ryan, He's called a lot of April Ryan, to be specific, during his presidency in the press room. But there's others that he has kind of talked down to, and we've seen it in different things. The way he treated Omarosa, even though, she was straddling the fence on what she was doing with his support and everything. But we have seen his disdain towards Black women who push back on him with answers or questions. We've seen it. Now, on this panel, if you paid very close attention, like I did, you notice that on the panel, and I want to get their names because I don't want to get their names wrong. Let me make sure I got their names. Where'd I put it? Lord have mercy. Oh, here are the correspondents that were on the panel. You had ABC News correspondent Rachel Scott, Fox News anchor Harris Faulkner, and Semaphore reporter Katia Goba. And if you paid attention when he came out, Rachel Scott greeted him. But the main focus of the person on that panel that he felt comfortable with, because they've done interviews and who she works for, was Harris Faulkner, who works for Fox News. He took this long dissertation to her and started talking to her, past the other two, to talk to her from the beginning, which right there gave me a sign that this is about to go sideways. And then he had a problem with the first question that was asked to him by Rachel Scott of ABC. And I'm going to say it this way. When we, as a community, as Black men, say protect Black women, these are the incidents that we're talking about. There was no one in that building who got up to defend Rachel Scott at that time. Now, you can say, well, it's a professional setting. It wasn't that bad. You come with all these excuses. But the National Association of Black Journalists president, Ken Lemon, first of all, let me start here. First of all, if he refused to go on the stage because he didn't want to be fact-checked, let his ass go home. You don't come to my house with my people and dictate what we're going to do and what we're not going to do after you agreed to it before you showed up. That's number one. That's where I have my biggest problem is he agreed to what you laid out to show up. If he got there and he didn't want to go on stage because of this, because you were going to fact check him in real time, let him go. Because it shows more about him than it is about us. But what we did as a people, which we always do, and we need to stop this, is we cowered down to this person just because he has former president in front of his name to appease him for something that we want to find out where your stances are and how you feel about us as Black people. But rather than us hold his feet to the fire and say, well, look, if you won't let us fact check, which is what you agreed to from the beginning, then we don't need you here. But they went on with it anyway, and it was a train wreck because they allowed him to sit up there and tell lie after lie after lie. And every time somebody tried to push back on him, it was a whataboutism. Well, what about what Kamala Harris did? Or what about what this person did? Or what about what Joe Biden did? Never once in that panel did he come out and say anything of fact, or were they able to push back on the fact of the things that the falsehoods that he was spewing? That's where my issue comes in. Brian Hoodie, the only fact checking was Roland Martin in the audience. Yeah, I was going to get to that. And I watched Roland Martin that night, and he was in an uproar. Oh, no. Roland Martin was in an uproar. And the reason being, Roland Martin said he had a seat up front. And Roland Martin was the one, if you noticed, that was in the front. And every time he said something wrong, Roland Martin said he was yelling out, "That's a lie. That's a lie." But you really couldn't hear it, but you could see the actions from the panel looking down at the front row like, damn, bro, can we get through this? And I've told y'all this before, I do not agree with Roland Martin 100% of the time. Some of his interviews, I don't get me wrong, I love everything he does. Let's clear that up. I love everything Roland Martin does. But sometimes when he interviews people and he doesn't agree, he cuts them off. He cuts them off and doesn't give them an opportunity to speak. That's the only problem I have with Roland Martin, because he doesn't let these guests get their words out, because he'll stop them quick about their lies rather than wait until they lie and then follow them and let them know what they lied about. But I digress. Let's get back to this. Norman Brown, my brother, they allowed him to control the narrative. Exactly. And that's where my issue comes in with the National Association of Black Journalists, where you can't come in my house and dictate how I'm going to run things in my house. but they allowed him to, which shows you we as a people that had the power in that room, because everyone in that room is a member of the association. And everyone in that room has the power. Now, a lot of people in the room didn't want him there. But the president, the acting president right now, Ken Lemon, should have stood on the principles of what this association is and told him straight up, if you don't allow us to fact check, as we mentioned, you can go home right now. Call it a day. And then for him to come out there, and then the first thing he does is disparage Rachel Scott from ABC and bring up the fact like she was the one over the audio and the video and everything like that. That's contracted out. It has nothing to do with the people that are sitting there interviewing you or asking you the questions. It has to do with the contractor if there was technical difficulties. And there were, from what they said, but not to the point of where it took an hour to fix. We have to take our power back in these situations, and we didn't. We did not take our power in a room full of journalists who don't get the benefit of the doubt when they're doing their job. And then they allowed him to come there and minimize their standing in the journalist community by letting him, as Norman Brown said, control the narrative. I tell you, this is just one sign of what's to come between now and November 5th. Buckle up. Buckle up. Because it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then the Trump campaign disputes the association's account. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung told Axios on Friday that they waited for close to 40 minutes while audio technical issues were fixed by the association. There were issues because I remember they said they couldn't hear and all this kind of stuff, but exactly. But here's the other part. Lemon says Trump's team eventually asked the association not to post the fact checking on its social media platforms or allow the moderator to disclose that there would be fact checking. ABC's Rachel Scott discussed the fact checking on stage, and the National Association of Black Journalists publicized ahead of the event that there would be fact checking. I have an issue with them cowering to this coward. I have an issue with them cowering to this coward and allowing him to impose his will in a building that looks entirely like us from wall to wall. They allowed him to control the narrative. Morris Wigfall, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Willis Cheney, you are absolutely spot on. We relinquish our power and responsibility, surrender to the entitlement. There it is. And this is something that is ingrained in us. And I hate to say it this way, but I'm gonna be very transparent right now. There are a lot of times where we're in situations where we won't stand up for ourselves, no matter how many of us are in the room. Let's just be honest. It could be one of them and 20 of us. And we won't stand up for ourselves because we choose to stay professional. So we think by not saying anything, we choose to stay professional. We're going to stay non-confrontational and all these different things. But one thing that I will tell you that we all know, we can get our point across to them, to these type of people, without coming out of our normal character, without becoming unprofessional, and without becoming confrontational. Because here's where I think we sell ourselves short. We do not automatically become angry in these situations. What we become is emotional. We become emotional, which makes us think that we at times can't control our emotions to be able to get our point across. Let me tell you something. Something I learned a long time ago. When you got something to say and it's emotionally there, if your voice don't shake when you say it, your voice should shake if it's emotional and if it's going against everything you know to be true about who you are as a person. Let that voice shake and say what you got to say. Let your voice shake and say what you got to say. At this situation, they allowed him to take their power. And then I have the question, and there's nothing against black women, so I don't want nobody to say this, but I want to know why there were no men on the panel. Why were there no men on the panel? And it's nothing against the women, don't get me wrong. Why were there no men on the panel? And the other part, Norman Brown, I do it a lot. They are shocked when they realize I'm just as intelligent as they are. Exactly. As Cool Mo D said, my vernacular is pure and I can make sure. Well, I'm not going to get into how you like me now, but yeah, your intelligence. We have to speak up for ourselves, even in environments where we don't feel what we have to say is going to be heard. We have to stop cowering to cowards and impose our will like they try to do with us on a daily basis. Say what you have to say. If it means that much to you, say what you have to say. But the most egregious lies that he told, first of all, he started off with Vice President Kamala Harris is not black. When did she turn into a black person? That should have offended every black person in the United States of America or anybody in the United States of America that considers themselves to be black. Because you have a white man, a white older man, sitting on a stage amongst black folks, asking the question about another black person or whether they're black or when did they become black. You know, it gets to a point where anytime we are in a position to excel, to go to the next level, it's never anything to do with how we do our job, if we can do our job, if we're qualified. Those things come up when they start talking DEI, hiring, all this. But the question comes up that they flip on us because we've said it so many times to each other. Are you black enough? And that's code word for Negro, stay in your place. To me, stay in your place. Because if you're questioning whether this woman is black, who her history and her background has been talked about over and over again, and you allow this man to sit on a stage with black women to question another black woman's blackicity, I'm going to say blackicity today. What are we doing? Because I'm going to say this, and I don't do comparison, I do facts. If the tables were turned and that was a black man showing up with a bunch of white women on that stage and white men in the audience, the narrative would have been completely different. If he would have came out, that black man would have sat on that stage and did what Donald Trump did at that time, he would be vilified to this day. Think about it. We have a history in this country that shows when a black person they feel is out of their way, is stepping out of bounds towards a white woman, they used to lynch him. These are facts. This ain't a comparison. They would lynch him just for the simple fact that the white woman said he disrespected her, he whistled at her, he looked at her too long, and so on. Y'all know the narrative. But I digress. Is she black enough? Best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. I'm not even going to touch on that one. The delay in Trump's appearance was due to audio problems. He lied about that, as I mentioned. And then the one that really got me that I know, is the one that I would have stood up and yelled from the rooftops as far as fact checking. Abortion is allowed in the ninth month when a baby is born by Democrats. He said that Democrats are pushing to allow abortions in the ninth month of a pregnancy. Now, we all know that that's a lie, a bold-faced lie. Because the bottom line is this. You're either pro-life, pro-choice. That's the way they want to regulate it. You're either pro-life or pro-choice. But there's no middle ground as far as how you feel about certain situations, which makes it either or, not and if. For him to sit on a stage as a former president of the United States, which is still questionable to this day, and say this, lets you know that they are trying to win this presidency by any means necessary. And I should equate that to him after the great Malcolm X, his words. But it's a true statement. It's a true statement. Russell Jenkins, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. We have to get better, y'all. And I keep saying we have to get better, but there's certain things that we allow that we shouldn't. There's certain things that we allow that we shouldn't, because at times we feel that we don't want to be labeled the angry black man, the angry black woman, the angry this, the angry that. But at the end of the day, if you're angry, and if they want to consider us to be angry, let your anger show through the pushback, not through the action, but through the pushback. Stand your ground. Do not let them minimize your standing in this world just because your melanin content is so pure and so beautiful. So pure and so beautiful. But we cower down at times to these people, certain people, because they have this superiority complex. And we're more concerned about how we're going to be seen if we do become angry, rather than saying what we have to say at the time and then going home and saying, I was almost about to tell him this, or I should have told him that. No, tell him. Tell him. Because one thing we know, they ain't biting their tongue for you. They're not biting their tongue for you. Kamiko Soul King, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you. Jacqueline Diggs Barnett, good morning. Good morning. Hey, appreciate you. Hey, thanks for everybody tuning in this morning. I'm trying to get some points across here this morning, but y'all bear with me. So I told y'all about the calls last week. Black women for hers, white women for hers, or Karens for hers, whatever they call it, brothers for hers. Well, they had the white dudes for hers call on Monday. And it was 3 hours long. 150,000 people joined the calls. 190,000 people tuned in tonight. So they had 150,000 people that signed up for the calls. 190,000 people tuned in, and they were able to raise $4 million plus for the Kamala Harris campaign. And they said, this is the start of something special, and we couldn't be more proud to be in this fight with you. More to come. However, this shows you how, and this is what you have to think about. They eat their own kind. Let me just say it that way. They eat their own kind, because right after their call, their Zoom call, Elon Musk and his social media platform, X, formerly Twitter, suspended the White Dudes for Harris account shortly after a massive fundraising call where almost 200,000 people helped raise more than $4 million for the vice president and presumptive Democratic nominee. They eat their own. Elon Musk shut their page down after they did their call. There are forces at work to try to block any movement that they can with the movement that's going on right now. It was reinstated Monday morning after it was blocked hours before because of a user report for violating our rules against evading suspension. This is what the spokesperson for White Dudes for Harris said. We hosted the event and it was wholesome and a bunch of dudes being earnest, getting inspired and excited. Morales Rocketo said in an interview with the Post. And suddenly we realized the X account had been suspended and we had no idea why. White Dudes for Harris has no affiliation with the Harris campaign, but was created to energize voters. In this case, white men for Vice President Harris. It is a part of a string of identity-focused groups, such as Black Women for Harris, White Women for Harris. They have been holding calls and fundraisers in earnest since President Biden dropped out of the race. So this just shows you they eat their own. White Dudes for Harris is a problem. It's not a problem for MAGA, wearing the red hats, but when you're a white dude for Harris, they trying to shut you down. They even got hats that say White Dudes for Harris. They're selling merchandise. But for them to shut down their page after their call, it just shows you where they're at. They're running scared. So now I want to get into something very serious here. We've talked about Project 2025 in nauseam. But this week, and I want to, I put these slides up because I want to refresh your memory real quick. So this was what we had talked about before, where the Heritage Foundation came out with this, and it says, we're in the process of taking this country back, Roberts told viewers. No one in the audience should be despairing. Roberts said the presidential immunity is vital to ensure a vigorous executive, as described in the Federalist Papers. Eventually, he got around to what he called the radical left. But number three, let me speak about the radical left. You and I have both been parts of faculties and faculties and faculty senates and understand that the left has taken over our institutions. The reason that they are apoplectic right now, the reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle on this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we're in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. Now, y'all remember me reading this. Y'all remember the firestorm that came behind that. But this was the president of the Heritage Foundation. And then Donald Trump came out with this statement after that and says, I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. And, you know, his distancing himself from something that's not going to benefit him is exactly what he said here. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. So he kind of contradicted himself all in the same breath, but that's what he does. But this week, this came to light. So there's a guy named Paul Dans of the Heritage Foundation, and he has announced he is resigning from his role. He is the director of Project 2025, and he's stepping down. Move comes after a wave of public criticism led by Democrats over the conservative manifesto and the Heritage Foundation, the think tank that backs it. The project's agenda items include everything from the dismantling of government agencies such as the Department of Education to the implementation of national abortion bans and contraception restrictions. And this is what he sent out the other day. And I want to read this. I want you to really take this in and know what we're dealing with here. And this is Paul Dans, who actually was the orchestrator and the writer of the 900 pages of Project 2025. Friends and patrons, to everything there is a season. We completed what we set out to do, which was create a unified conservative vision. Bringing together over 110 leading organizations united behind the cause of deconstructing the administrative state. This tool was built for any administration dedicated to conservative ideals to utilize. The work of the project was due to wrap with the with the nominating conventions of the political parties. Our work is presently winding down, and I'm sorry, y'all, I got something blocking my view, so y'all bear with me. I plan later in August to leave Heritage. Electoral season is upon us, and I want to direct all my efforts to winning bigly. As George Washington reminded us, they always go back to the forefathers who were slave owners and everything, but I digress. Every post is honorable in which a man can serve his country. Your contribution to Project 2025 has been extraordinary, and I personally thank you. I've been tremendously assisted in this mission by Spencer, Troop, Dennis, and many others on the team. They will continue to put Project 2025 and its recommendations in a place to be a best of assistance to the new conservative administration in November. Our collective efforts to build a personal apparatus for policymakers of all levels, federal, state, and local, will continue. It has been a great honor to work with you on this endeavor, and it is my fervent wish, as my namesake St. Paul encourages us, that you not grow weary in doing good, for that out of our efforts, our nation will one day reap a great harvest. Fight, fight, fight. Paul. Now, I read all that because I got something I'm going to follow this up with, but I want you to hear the way that they are talking and putting their message out to the people who they know or they want to hear it. This message is not for anybody that looks like me. This message is for not anybody who associates with me or is an ally and not a lie. This message is not for you. This message is for those who have superiority complexes, the white nationalists, white supremacists in this country, and those minions who are following in the footsteps of this former president who says he knew nothing about Project 2025. But Paul Sands was the former director of the Office of Personnel Management over all federal employees in the United States of America. Federal government employees fall under OPM. This person who did this Project 2025, and as well as the person who was over all those people at one time under the Trump administration, was over the Office of Personnel Management. Their plan is to eliminate the up to, and I want to say it's 4,000 government employees that serve at the duty of the president, whoever the president-elect is, which they're hoping is Donald Trump, so they can impose their will on us through Project 2025. That's one of the biggest parts of Project 2025 is to remove all those federal employees who serve under the direction of the president. So by removing these people out, that's how they're going to be able to get rid of the board of education, the board of education, and any other entities that they see that doesn't fit their narrative on what they're trying to do. Now let's go to the next one. Now this is the Trump-Vance statement for when he stepped down. President Trump's campaign has been very clear for over a year that Project 2025 had nothing to do with the campaign, did not speak for the campaign, and should not be associated with the campaign or the president in any way. Reports of Project 2025's demise will be greatly welcomed and should serve as notice to anyone or any group trying to misrepresent their influence with President Trump and his campaign. It will not end well for you. Susie Wiles and Chris LaKivita. Now, I'm going to ask this question facetiously. But if they felt this strongly about this statement, why is it not signed by former President Trump and his vice presidential selection, J.D. Vance? Why didn't they sign this statement? Why haven't they made a statement? Yeah, y'all know why. Y'all know why. There's another guy named Miles Taylor that worked on this Project 2025 as well. He was the former chief of staff. No, I'm sorry. He did not work on this. Let me backtrack. Miles Taylor is the person who calls himself anonymous, who is telling that he's going to expose everything about the Trump administration from the past time and leading up into the election. He was a former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security, and he has a lot to say. And I want to say this, and I want to bring this into light right now. This is Paul Dance, the Project 2025 creator, the man behind Project 2025. He has about a 20 to 25 minute interview with an Australian media company that he actually breaks down everything and anything about Project 25 and what their intentions are. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page, R.W. Coolins, Facebook, R.W. Coolins. I'm going to post it after the show today because I want you to listen. I want you to listen to the arrogance and the ignorance of what this man is spewing by idolizing the work he has done on Project 2025. Now, there's another one. Now, this was just a clip that they pulled out. This is the true one. And it's done by Four Corners. And it's ABC News, but his interview is embedded in this. But I want you to listen to his separately than you do the whole in the whole. But this thing right here, the Project 2025, this is called Investigating Trump. Project 2025 and the Future of the United States. I will post this one as well. I want you to find time within the next week or so to listen to these videos. I watched them last night. There is an underswelling going on in this country of this supremacist mindset that we all need to be aware of. And the thing about in this video here, you have people like Bolton. I can't remember all of them, but Bolton's in there, and they're talking about how Donald Trump, the threat that he is and what he plans to do and what he did last time compared to what he thinks he's going to be able to do this time. I think everyone needs to sit down and watch this and pay attention and listen intently so you understand the levels of what they're trying to do to this country and in this country to minimize us and maximize who they are and what they can do. I just want to put it out there, but I'll be posting the links. It's on YouTube. I'll post the links on my page. Please, if you have time, watch both of these. Now you can watch the one because Paul Danz's interview is within this, but I would like you to listen to Paul Danz separately before you listen to the whole. That's the way I did it. That way you get a better understanding of everything being said in the main one. But I digress. We talk about Project 2025. We talk about the threat, the white supremacist movement, everything that's going on. Richard P. Rowe, good morning, my brother. Appreciate it. The white supremacist movement in Tennessee. They're trying to come up with something because they've had so many white nationalist groups coming out of U-Haul trucks and marching down main streets and everything. They're trying to come up with a way to stop them. And the people that are trying to come up with a way to stop them are not the legislatures. The legislature don't care. It's the people that live in those cities that are trying to come up with a way to stop them from being able to do what they've been doing over the last 6 months, where only a couple of times it's been highlighted when they get out of these U-Haul trucks with a bunch of people with their flags upside down and their khaki and polo shirts and masks over their face and so on. The reinvention of the KKK. Let's just call it what it is. But I say that to tell you this, and I want you, this is another article that came out just yesterday. And it tells you how deep these conspiracies run that are going on, because there was a $10 million cash withdrawal that drove secret probe into whether Trump took money from Egypt. Now, this was an investigation by the Bill Barr. That's all I'm going to say is Bill Barr. 5 days before Donald Trump became president in January 2017, a manager at a bank branch in Cairo received an unusual letter from an organization linked to the Egyptian intelligence service. It asked the bank to kindly withdraw nearly $10 million from the organization's account, all in cash. Inside the state-run National Bank of Egypt, employees were soon busy placing bundles of $100 bills into 2 large bags, according to records from the bank. 4 men arrived and carried away the bags, which U.S. officials later described in sealed court documents as weighing a combined 200 pounds and containing what was then a sizable share of Egypt's reserve of U.S. currency. Federal investigators learned of the withdrawal and reported early in 2019. They did an investigation. They started investigating the Egyptian president, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and he sought to give Trump $10 million to boost his 2016 presidential campaign. I bring this up today because this is news about how Bill Barr, stopped this investigation from happening after it was already close to finding out the true reason why this $10 million came from Egypt into the Trump campaign, where Trump donated $10 million into his campaign, he said, of his own money, but they're saying it came from Egypt. And they were at the point of being able to follow through on the investigation, and Bill Barr stopped it. This is how deep this criminal empire runs. And I'll say this, and the reason I bring this up is because of this. I mentioned earlier in the show about how Judge Eileen Cannon dropped this classified documents case in Florida with all the documents that he took from the White House that he has in Mar-a-Lago, and nobody has come forward to say exactly to what extent these documents were, what secrets were in there, anything like that. And then when I see this about a $10 million cash withdrawal from Egypt, giving it to a nominee to become president right before the election, where he took $10 million, coincidentally, to donate to his campaign, you have to ask yourself, if he's taking money from a foreign government to help his campaign, what did he promise the government, the foreign government? What documents was he keeping, and why was he keeping? We go back to this again. For him to have these documents and feel wholeheartedly that he could have them and felt there was nothing that prevented him from keeping them, we have to sit back and ask ourselves, as a national security threat, what secrets does he have or was he keeping? Who was he willing to sell out to or is willing to sell out to? And what has he already sold out? Because at the end of the day, what we know about Donald Trump is he is about him and him only. He is not worried about the consequences of what may happen to this country as a whole. That MAGA tagline to use, Make America Great Again, that is just to pull in those uninformed people who sit back and watch Fox News each and every day and get their news from a non-journalistic news channel per se. They're not journalists, which is why, and I'll digress, why I was wondering what Harris Faulkner was doing on the panel when she's not even a journalist. but she's in the National Association of Black Journalists. I'm joining myself, but I digress. But I'm bringing these things up, and I know this has been a Trump day as far as what I'm what I'm reporting today. But I want you to understand these things are deeper than just him. There are undercurrents that are going on leading up to this election, that are going on behind the scenes, that they are doing. When they talk about the deep state, there's never been a deep state per se, as far as I'm concerned. But there is some black ops going on around this candidate named former President Donald Trump. You can bet it. And as I mentioned, January 6th was an exercise, a test run to see what they need to do to make it really happen compared to the last time. I mean, compared to the first time. They've worked out all their kinks. They got inside people. They had inside people the first time. They got inside people this time. As I always say, I'm not telling you this so you get, in the roots of it and worry about it and everything, but you need to be aware of what's going on. On election day, when you go to the polls, you need to be aware of what's going on. When you go to register, you need to know what's going on. When you go out on your everyday walks in your neighborhood, you need to be aware of what's going on, because these people do not have your best intentions at hand. And the other part of this, if they will treat the sitting vice president of the United States of America the way they have and the way they have talked about her, who are you? Who do you think you are to them? Nothing. Not a damn thing. Your standing means nothing to them, especially if they can't get anything from you, like a vote. So if they will disparage her, Vice President Harris, former President Obama, what do you think? What do you actually think they think about you? They could give a damn about you or me or anybody who looks like us. We have to be aware, and we need to get out, and we need to start spreading the word, and we need to, I'm going to say this, and a lot of y'all won't agree with this. We need to go out here and we need to start, it's going to sound crazy. We need to start having conversations with those that look like us, that are entrenched in this MAGA movement. Hear me out. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to argue with them, but you need to bring facts to the table and have a conversation. We don't have to go in with the mindset of, I'm going to change your mind. We need to have conversations about what is their mentality and why are they so hell-bent on being a part of this MAGA movement when the MAGA movement could give a damn about them. That's the conversations we need to have. You can't save everybody. Let's just be honest. You can't save everybody. However, we can't just blow it off like it doesn't matter. Like, and I said it, I think last week, and I say it again. Harriet Tubman said she would have freed more people if they knew they were slaves. It's nothing different now. Some of these people are so engrossed in the fact of what they think this man is going to do for them, that they forget what has been done to them in their lifetime. They've forgotten their experiences as being a black man or a black woman. They've forgotten what they've been called out of their name, how they've been treated, all these things. And as I mentioned before, I always ask this question: where are their families at? Where are these people's families at to try to bring them back? But we need to have conversations with these people and find out exactly what their mentality is and why they feel that way. And also have these conversations with these people who are disparaging Kamala Harris. For what reason? She was good enough to be Attorney General of California. She was good enough to be the VP, but she's not good enough to be the president. And these are our people. These are our people. Easy, absolutely nothing about us. No, they don't care about us. They don't care about us because they're not like us. I had to throw that in. I had to throw that in to break it up a little bit. But you understand where I'm going with this. Be aware, but don't be consumed. Be aware, but don't be consumed. And I know that y'all probably getting tired of tuning into this every Saturday morning and hearing about all these politics and what's going on. But here's the thing about this. That's where we fall short sometimes. We get tired too quickly. We get tired too quickly of hearing the wrongs. But what we don't get tired of is complaining about the wrongs. So if we continue to talk about it, maybe, just maybe, we can bring more people back to the fold of what we've been fighting for since this country's inception: equality and freedom. Equality and freedom. Not for the few, but for the masses. And at the rate we're going right now with this person, I'm just telling you, the things that I read, then some of the things I don't even bring to the thing, because I only got an hour every Saturday morning. But some of the things that I read would make a lot of you pause as far as what's going on, because you can't just read the regular everyday. I go in the trenches of stuff to read this stuff, to try to find out what exactly is going on. And that's not to put in fear in nobody or anything like us, because as we say, God's in control. But at the end of the day, we can't be stupid either. We can't forget God's in control, but we got people on this earth that say they believe in God and won't even speak the word of God, but at the same time, they don't have your best intentions at hand. And we have to be sure that we're doing our due diligence when it comes to this. Because I think sometimes we get too comfortable. We get too comfortable, we get too complacent, we get too complicit in certain things that are going on around us, because we feel, well, they're not talking about me, or it's not affecting me because I'm in this tax bracket, or it's not affecting me because I live on that side of town, or it's not affecting me, because, I'm getting my Social Security check right now. All the different things you can think about that we make excuses for not paying attention to because it doesn't affect us, is affecting you. Because if it's not affecting you directly, it's affecting your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunts, anybody you know in your circle that you associate with or you may see walking down the street. It's affecting them. And if you don't care about them, then you don't care about your fellow man, your brother man, your sister. It's a domino effect that we all have to be involved in what's going on and know that if we don't stand up for ourselves in these situations, prime example, what I talked about in the beginning, at the National Association of Black Journalists, where nobody stood up to take control of a room full of us. What are we doing? What are we doing? And I'll end it with this. All these people we talk about, from Donald Trump to William Barr to anybody, these people that are in these positions of so-called power, or these white nationalists coming out of U-Haul trucks, that should tell you something right there. They unloading out of U-Haul trucks. They can't even get a bus. But anyway, I digress. But these people coming out of the back of U-Hauls and stuff like that, just remember this. If you don't remember anything else, just remember this. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you did. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. They bleed just like you do. There is nothing superior about those people except their mindset makes them think that they're superior. And what we've done, because of history has shown us, is we fall into this ideology that they're superior because they have more people in this country than we do, or that they have better generational wealth than we do, or they have this and we don't, or that's not how it works. We need to get back to the bare basics of understanding. A man is a man, a woman is a woman, and that's the basics of what it's about. Just because you hold a position doesn't make you better than me. Just because you got more money than me does not make you better than me. Just because you may have a house that costs $1 million does not make you better than me. There's nothing that I see in anybody I come in contact that can make me think that they are better than me. Their circumstances may be better, but that doesn't make them better than me as a man, or you as a man or a woman on this earth under God's eyes. And that's the basics we need to get back to, and stop fearing the fact, because these people are in these positions, that we cower down and act like they are superior to us. Even though we don't say it, our actions show it. And at this point in my life, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling that I have to change and code switch to fit a narrative that is not me. We all should start standing up for who we are first and a people second, and realize that what the intentions of these people in these politics are is to have power over us, because we're not included in these things they're doing. And those lost sheep out there that look like us, that are all about this MAGA and all this, and the Byron Donalds and the Ben Carsons and the Wesley Hunts and all the Candace Owens, all these people, understand something. They're lost. They're just looking for a way to be accepted by those who have a superiority complex, to make them feel that they're not like us because they're accepted by them. When you wake up in the morning and you realize that, you will walk a little taller, you'll stick your chest out when you walk, and you'll let these people know that no matter what you say to me and no matter how you feel about me, you're not better than me. You're not better than me. And I will say that until the day I die. We all need to get that. Come on, think about it. When you were a kid, you had your grandparents, your mother, your aunts and uncles pour into you how great you were and how great you can become. And we've allowed people in this country who have this superiority complex to make us think that we're less than, not because of who we are, but because of what they've been able to do through history. And at this point, we have to stand up and say, no more. And it's not going to be a person sitting in the presidency that looks like us. It's not going to be some senator or congressman. It's going to be us at the ground level, boots on the ground, standing up for ourselves on a daily basis. And someone seeing that, some 16, 17, 18-year-old young man or young woman seeing you stand up for yourself in front of those people, for it to start trickling into our youth to make them understand and give them the understanding that they mean something and that they are worthy of being here. And there's nobody greater than them on this earth. We got to impose that in our children. We got to impose that in each other and stop getting into this bickering about this person got this person got that. You can't take it with you. And start realizing that at this point in our lives, we have to exhaust all possibilities to show and know that I was created to be great on this earth, and that's what I'm going to do. And what I have and the talents that have been bestowed upon me, nobody's greater than me. Nobody. I don't care what position you sit in. I don't care how much money you got here. I don't care how tall you are, because I've been short a long time. But there's nobody greater than me. We got to change the mindset. We got to change the thinking. That's where we're at. Sorry about that, y'all. I got on a little rant. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'll be back again next week. We're going to continue talking about these things and getting these things done. But if you got the time and you're able, get out, become a part of the process as the voting. We got people that they need poll workers that look like us. If you go to poll, I want you to think about something real quick, and I'm going to let y'all go. Think about when you go to the polls on election day and how many people at them polls look like us. It goes along with what I talk about with being selected for jury duty. We have to be more involved in the processes rather than arguing about the results at the end. If you got time, if you're not doing anything, or if you can find time, go be a poll worker. See how the process works. See how these people were able to go in there and try to change an election. Get on these boards in your cities. Get out and do some things. Stop sitting back waiting for someone else to do it. We all have the power to do it. If you're a boss at your job, be a boss in your life. Take back control. Stop waiting for the next Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Stop waiting for the next Malcolm X. Why don't you be him? Stop waiting for the next Shirley Chisholm, the Barack Obama, the Kamala Harris. Be the next. You be it. It only takes one. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I'm one of many. As I say, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll be back again next week. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all again next week. And I'm out. Holla. Peace.